Okay, everyone, let's have a go with colour crayons. The first thing you'll have in your handout kit, and I believe you people at home have got the documents were sent to you. So we're going to start with this document here. It says colour theory on it, but I'm not going to go into that in depth, but if you could get out, there's a huge bag of coloured pencils up here at the front. If you don't have anything, just come up here and borrow it. And you can see what we're going to try and do here. So let's just talk briefly about values. Colour pencils I think are underrated, and you can, highly portable, easy to use, and you might think you can't get in-depth colour with them, but you absolutely can. So it comes down to pressure, and it's the same thing in calligraphy, right? Pressure and release. So endless lectures about colour theory will drive you around the flipping bend. But what I do in my studio is I have this sitting there, and if I've dreamt up some kind of a graphic for the calligraphy that I'm working on, I look at the colour that I'm doing it in, let's say it was purple, and directly across from that are the colours that will look terrific with it. So if it's a blue-violet, then it would be this colour here. I don't know why it happens, but it does happen, that it makes it pop. And I think really that's the only colour theory we need. You know, they talk about, you know, threes and analogous colours, which drive people nuts. What does that mean? It means next door neighbours go with each other. So like those go with each other. They work, those look great, those look good, you might get that, and so on, all around the wheel. So if you want to do something that's shaded, then you would work with maybe those colours. Let's say it was something leafy, you would go with those, but then if you look underneath, there's a little bit of overlay on there with, it might be a dark green, or it might be a black. I was always taught as an artist, never use black. But colour pencil artists do use it all the time to dumb the colour down a bit. So if you were doing a curve of something, you would put a bit of dark over top of it, and down below here, you could put some white over top of it. And so that's what this exercise down the right-hand side of your sheet will show you. So let's just take out what you've got and see if you've got enough pencils to fill it in this outer ring. Now, in order to get these odd colours, just go with the basics and hop one. So put in a green, hop over it and do a yellow, an orange if you've got it, or come and borrow it, a red, a purple, and a blue. Now, how do you hold the pencil? It's a good question, and I want you to learn something new about. This is a very sharp pencil, and the reason that's important is that I very rarely colour with the point. So if you go further back up the pencil and hold it like this, you immediately make yourself have a very light touch. Where's an empty one? So if I'm starting a colour, and quite often you'll have yellow underneath, I see how I'm using the side. I might go 10 times over that, changing directions, but I can't get heavy with that, and I also can't break the point off. And then when I've done quite a bit, I'll rotate the pencil so that I'm not losing the centered point. And believe it or not, if you do it enough times at a gentle, you're going to get to the deep. Sure, you could pick it up and color with the point really hard, snap off the point, and do it heavy to start with. But this way, you've got total control over your tool, getting it up to where you want to be. Another way of filling area is to do this. Could you just zoom one step, please? Oh, I've forgotten.
It's okay.
Thank you. Another way of filling in space is doing tiny circles, like, I hope you can see this, just round and round. This is particularly good for nudging up against curved edges. And another way is hatching, which is like this. And they all work in different ways on top of one another. But basically, fill all three in, get the edges nice and crisp. And if you need to get softer, if you've already broken your pencil, that's fine. There's a rotary sharpener here with a long point setting on it on this one. And you can see why I like long point, because I've got more there to get that color down. So when you've got a nice strong yellow, I think I'm using the wrong yellow here, but that's all right. This is actually a more pure yellow. So can you see I'm going over the top? And if your paper has got a bit of texture, which is like the text wove that we all know and love, text wove's great for colour pencil work. So I've got the yellow done, lay down the pencil, skip to orange. I have these marvellous pencil organisers, so I file by colour, and then I don't have to fiddle around getting boxed sets out and fiddling around with tins. Skip one, go to orange. I'm going to push you a little bit because we have limited time and I want to get through everything. So we may not bother to do the whole thing, but I just want you to get the general impression, and you can do the rest at home, and there's other sheets there that we can do, but I've got to keep my eye on the time, what we can realistically do in the hour. And you might think this is slow, but it's very zen. Colouring is done by lots of stress management organisations because it slows you down and you just have to relax and do it and go at it slowly. It's honestly the same as watercolour. It's layers, layers, layers. And we'll see about light later on. Skip. Red. A nice, good, strong red. Which I don't have at the moment. Try that one. The side of the pencil is the way to go. Can you notice as you're doing this that the tooth of the paper is beginning to show up, especially now I'm getting darker. If you see there, there's all kinds of little pits there in the paper that enables us to put lots of layers, but this is not good quality paper. This is just regular old heavy copy paper. But when we switch to a piece of text wove, you're going to really notice this. And so on. So if I now turn to the point of the pencil, and in the top quadrant, or whatever you call that, pie shape. I'm now using cross-hatching strokes, which we'll go into in a minute. And I'm pressing, so now we were at a pressure number 1, now we're at a pressure number 2, and we're cross-hatching, and we're getting some really good, and I'm filling more of the tooth of the paper as I change degrees.
Are you holding the pencil differently?
I'm holding the pencil now in a traditional way, a little further back, but you can see how I'm holding it. I'm not down here. I'm still back here, but not that far along. I've got a very short pencil stub because I've used this one. Now I want you to find a white pencil. That's not a very good one. I like that one. So you have trouble colouring if you don't have sharp points, so I'm a big fan of sharp points. So you want to have a fair amount of oomph to your colour, so a little bit more colour. Now take the white and turn your work if you need to, and just make this one, you're using this white pencil as a blender essentially. And we'll talk about blending in a minute with more tools. So can you see how it's changing it to almost a flesh type colour? Don't press too hard or you'll snap your point off. Can I just talk a bit about sharpening a minute? Can I just show you this? If you're sharpening a pencil and you're holding it like this and you're sharpening it, you're actually doing that with the pencil, and you are, without even meaning to, have you ever sharpened a pencil and the thing breaks off while you're sharpening it, it's because you're doing that. So all the pros sharpen like this, hold the pencil still and sharpen like that. I don't do it. I have a power sharpener and I sharpen vertically because I want really big points and I don't want to wait doing it. And it also keeps all the shavings. On your desk is a little cat tray, and that's for your pencil sharpenings. This one comes with a box that catches it, but it wouldn't do for me. But, you know, just remember not to do that with your pencil. Anyway, so we've got our white. We've got our, so when you add white to a colour, it's called a tint. Now take a black or a very dark brown, whatever you've got. What is that? And down to the middle section. Now, very soft pressure here. You can overdo this. When we get to looking at an image in a minute, you're going to realise that you're going to need not just the colour, but several versions of the colour. So it's still red, but it's in shadow, let's say. So if you can get together now in your hand a nice bright colour, I'm going to use magenta, let's say. A nice bright magenta. That's not magenta. I can't see because the light's out. There's magenta. Okay, skip over to the right-hand side of your, putting it all together over here. Thank you. That's great, thank you. Okay, so in the basic circle, are you with me?
You're using magenta, did you say?
In the, I'm using magenta, it doesn't, any bright, vibrant colour of the primaries, like red, orange, green, blue, or purple, or magenta I'm doing because it shows up. So just fill in your circle. You can go round and round with those little scumbling, or you can go cross-hatching. And get a good amount of colour down on there. No time for chattering, you've got to concentrate. And again, you can see that the tooth of the paper is starting to show up, and I've got a trick for that later, you're going to love it. I have a little tool. I have several tools, but this one I really like. This is a Stabilo sanded eraser in pencil form. It looks like that. And I can sharpen that to a nice sharp point too. But if I've messed up like I have here, I can take it off. And then if I was doing something that, this is watercolor theory too. The white on the paper you leave there for the shine or something. It's the same with this. So if I wanted to put the shine back in, say that was an apple, I could go back on here and just gently keep going until I got back to light. Unlike watercolor, once it's down, it's down. I like this because I can get back to the paper without hurting it. So you can see how it all works. So that's the basic colour in that one. Now we're going to do the same as we did in the colour wheel. Go again. Cross hatch.
Same color?
Same colour in all 6. But you'll realise at the end of it that we come up with 6 colours.
All with the same intensity to begin with.
All the same one that you started with. And if you go heavy too soon, you'll get streaks. But if you're gentle and you go round and round, you'll get a nice finish. Now I'm going to do it with the white again. And I am holding the pencil conventionally now. And I'm giving it about a 2 in terms of pressure. So you can see that's changed the colour, but what it's also done, it's worked as a burnisher, so I've lost some of those white dips that were showing up in the paper. Next one. You may have to come and borrow a grey if you don't have one, but we're doing this with a grey. Oops. The sanded eraser also comes in this form. You can get 5 of these for $1.50 on some of the Chinese websites. They're also very, very good. So if I go back to my colour over here, I can go down the middle with the sanded eraser and get right back to the white pretty quickly. And it puts a shine on it. So you always have these erasers handy. So grey, where's a grey? I sort my colours by, I colour, so I can quickly grab them. So this pencil is horrible because it's a short pencil. So grey does something different. It dumbs the colour down a bit. It almost blues it in a way. But again, you're getting shades. So if you were doing a flower, let's say, the petals that were in shadow, that might be your answer. Pushing on. I'm a great fan of illustration. Illustration is different than, like, say, a watercolor artist. Illustration sometimes and quite often has a little very fine black outline. Illustration is really for reproduction. So when you're doing your image, in illustration, it's okay to have a very thin line around the, in fact, it might even bring focus to the work, where with watercolor or any other art form, and a black outline is considered to be rather a no-no. Okay, now we're going back to the black or the dark pencil. Am I going too fast? A little bit?
A little bit, but don't slow down.
Are you okay back there?
It's like having a coloring book and going out of the lines.
Now, I'll just push on. You don't have to finish if you haven't got time, but I just want, I'm trying to get this done just so.
What color was shade?
Huh?
What color goes on for shade?
It goes, tint is white, tone is grey, shade is black, warm is red. So let's try that one now. This is just to have in the back of your mind when you're going to do an image, which we're going to do next. You know how to do it. And you'll notice that in art, generally speaking, if you add a layer of blue over something, it pulls it back. And if you add a form of bright colour, it brings it forward. So now we're going to add red.
So when you put these extra colors on top, you really
I'm going to show you that when we get to actually doing an image.
well, just in this little thing that we're doing,
Oh,
do you have to make sure that the basic color you've got down is very dark before you start adding the black to the top?
yeah, a good amount of colour there. Yeah, not a soft.
Yeah.
Can I just show you this one? So this one here is a little faint. You probably need those outer colours to be pretty strong. But you know, you're only just starting this, so don't be too impatient with yourself. And then the last one, where's magenta? If you don't finish, don't worry, you can catch it up later. I want to get on to what we're actually here for, which is about illustration. So it isn't a bad thing. You know those colour wheels that have all the slidey things on them? They're really annoying and they don't really help me that much. I mean, you can see how the theory works. To me, having something like this, which explains on the back, you know, how you get there and what you need and what are analogous and all of that. But I don't do any of that. I just have it up there to refer to. So now the last one is going to be a big change because I'm going to be putting a nice cobalt blue over the top. So if you were doing this in watercolor, you could experiment on the palette, but with color pencils, you're experimenting on the piece of work, which is why you start soft and then you keep going. So now you can see very clearly that what you've got here is very, very varied. So, are we there or do you need some more time?
On my gray, black, and blue, they really look hard.
Can't hear what she's saying.
Maybe wrong.
So, if you didn't have a grey, go to the top circle, the same thing again, but this time add black. Very soft pressure to start. Everybody knows this, but just doing it is interesting. And now grey, which is white on top, and it immediately burnishes it. It turns it into a finished surface. Now we're going to talk about what's needed on the back row there.
I'm lost as to where you are right now. Can you show again what you just did? You're on the using gray.
So what did you do here?
So I put down black fairly softly,
Yeah.
and then with about a number 2 pressure, a white over top, and I get a fairly decent grey. And then I can go back with the black over the top of that and create some dimension around the shape. So when would I use this if I wanted to make it look like something round? Oops. Oh, it's hot in here. We've got the air on.
I don't know if I have air.
So I don't know if all of you have heard. So what I have here for you to look at is what happens when you mix colours together. Can you just look up? So complementary colours are those that are across from each other. So if I mix those together, I get these kind of greys. So here I'm mixing those colours and it goes kind of muddy. So you've got one of these to go home with the pencils that you have. Oh, there you go. With the pencils that you have, and you can put in, first of all, the colours that you have, and then what happens when you put the complementary colour over it, you get a suitable grey. So this just requires some playing at home. One of the things I wanted you to do was to play with this when you get home, that this cool, warm and cool, and if you mix a warm colour with a cool colour, you get a sort of a grey in the middle. So it's a dumbed down version of both colours. But let's skip on to the worksheet, this worksheet here, this coloured pencil work. Just one of the things that I want to point out to you, this colour doesn't look the same as this colour simply because of what's around it. They are the same, but it can play tricks on you. So pull this out. This one we will finish. This is where we're headed. This is what you've got. First exercise is about pressure. So choose a nice colour. Something with a point on it. So, where's the value scale? Got so much stuff to show you. You've all seen a value scale before, and this is where your image plays tricks on you. You look at an image and you think, oh, I know what colour that is. And you colour the whole thing green. And actually, when you really, really look at it, oh, there it is, it's on the floor. When you really, really look at your colour, it's not quite what you thought it was. So this little thing is just a business card with a hole punched in it, and then I go to the colour that I want to make, and that doesn't look like it's red at all. That looks like bright orange to me, that looks like bright orange, but when I actually look at it, it's quite deceiving. So the number one lesson about colouring an image is take some time to stare at it, to analyse what is this and what's making it up. So this is what I'm talking about, value. So what we're going to do with this first box is we're going to do a graduated darkness. So I promise we'll get to the more interesting stuff in a minute. You just need to know this stuff. Turquoise. Side of the pencil, soft pressure, hardly anything there. Are you ready? Are you with me? Okay. Yell out if I'm going too fast. If you're having trouble getting into the corners, the soft round and round. So that was on number one. What are you up to back there, you bad girls?
I'm just on the wrong page.
Number two, bit pressure. Now, as you're giving a bit more emphasis, you're much aware of what the paper's doing. And we're going to be talking about paper at the end of this lesson, which is a huge subject. But for colour pencils, you can pretty much use anything that's got a little bit of texture. Even the cheapest dollar store sketchbook is good for colour pencil because it's got a little bit of tooth and a little bit of sponginess. So you know where I'm going with this one then. Quite a bit heavier, quite a bit darker. I'm still using the side of the pencil, rolling the pencil. I might have to do several layers of this. Never be afraid to turn your work. You're starting to get control of your weapon now. So now we're to pressure 4, but not really. We're actually going to do 1. And then a 2, maybe at an angle. If you go straight in with the heavy pressure, you don't get quite the nice coverage. And you keep going until you get the depth of value. That's what we're talking about, darkness, value. And you don't think you're going to get there, but then you begin to realize, maybe I could put something over the top of this that could darken it, so we have that exercise in the circles to go with. So you can see I've done about 15 or 16 layers there just because I'm going backwards and forwards. But eventually I get to the value I want. So if you dive straight in with watercolour and you put heavy colour on first, you've got nowhere to go. And it's the same with pencil. You start light and you get to a nice dark shade. And you might need to add something more to even more darken it. Okay, conventional pencil hold now. Go to your conventional pencil hold. And with a very sharp pencil, doesn't matter what colour you got. Just, this is, I'll show you, just drawing lines. You can do this because you're calligraphers. Series of straight lines. Now this will not work with a dull pencil. You can get several different values. See how I'm getting lighter and lighter and lighter. But that wouldn't happen if you didn't have a sharp pencil. Now I'm going to go see if I can find a pencil that's not sharp. I don't like dumb pencils. Oh, here's one. So here's a pencil that's not sharp. So if I do the same exercise, I'm going to get much thicker lines. But it's quite good for filling in, but it's not so good for control. And the same, this dull pencil, if you see I'm going in a circular fashion, like only a 1 pressure, I can gradually fill very carefully. pretty obvious, really. Okay, now if you could take out some kind of a green, if you have a green. There's loads of pencils up here. Come and help yourself. I have more greens than anything else because I like botanicals. Okay, fill this whole thing with green. So when you're doing something that was green, you would probably, when you start, take out a dark. Here, I'll do it. Pull it out. No, pull the holder out. No, yeah.
Too complicated.
Don't touch the projector.
Wow.
That one's better. That's a long point one.
Where did you get that from?
Online. Okay, so as I was saying, when you start to do a leaf, let's say, you would take a light, a medium, and a dark in your hand, and maybe something even darker like a brown or something. So now I want you to get, divide that box just with a line in thirds. And over 2/3 of it, I want you to do another layer of anything, any other colour. I'm going to put something yellowish in there. Just to see what happens. So I've got a dull pencil here, which I don't like, but. So it's changing the colour that's underneath a bit. I'm not putting a lot of pressure there, but I'd say it was about a number 2 pressure there. Still on the side of the pencil, so I've got perfect control. So it's partly colouring and it's partly burnishing the colour underneath, or blending. Now I might get a darker green. What have I got here? So back here, I'm going to do a much darker one.
Did you do yellow under that dark one, please?
You can do whatever you like. It's just an experiment. I just want to show you about doing a graduated blend here, because you're going to need that when you start to do. This is a horrible pencil. I don't know what it is. Let's talk about colour pencils themselves for a minute. You basically pay for what you get. You can buy a set of 150 Chinese crayons for $10. Right now, every crayon in the world is on sale because it's back to school time. And Crayola is not a bad product. It's not. The core, that's the inside of there. The more you pay for it, the bigger that core is. And there's 2 types of pencils. There's an oil-based crayon, which is something quality like polychromos, which I have here for you. You can try these, which is good for detail. And then there's the Prismacolor, which is highly pigmented. So it's like cheap watercolor. Cheap watercolor is very little pigment and a lot of filler. Cheap crayons are not much pigment and a lot of filler. And Prismacolor are a lot of pigment and a wax filler. So that if you really scrub this, you get a sort of a waxy sheen on the top, which is what we're going to work with right now. And there's several ways to blend this work. One is to take the lightest colour, which I can't remember what I used now, and blend over the whole box now. You've got 3 different values there, 3 different colours. Now starting over your whole area, just go over the whole thing, and you should begin to get. I'm sorry, I went to sleep with my hearing aid in my ear last night, and I put it on the charger this morning for half an hour. Now I've got nothing, so I have to shout.
She wants to know if you use the original color to go over all 3. The original color that was started.
Yeah, so yes, it would help. But there's another way. In all these good colour pencils, you can't afford to buy them all at once. I've taken years to make my collection, and they have them open stock in art shops. And so you go in and you buy the primaries. That's all you need. You make every colour if you just buy a set of 12. But if you have more colours, you have more possibilities. But one of the things they all sell is something called a blender pencil. It actually is nothing but the substance of your colour thing without any pigment. So what you do with that is you use this blender pencil. Are you okay there, Judy? What do you need? Okay, original colour. But I'm not happy with this hard line here. So I could take the dark colour and just soften it a bit like this. Or I could use this blending tool and see what happens. And it is beginning to diminish that hard line. Or I call this a tortillon, it's a paper stump, whatever you want to call it. You can use all kinds of tools. I can do a rubbing here. And when I do this, it's filling in some of that tooth. And notice that the dark is getting darker. And it's beginning to look a bit more polished. But the secret weapon is a felt marker with a 0 on the end, which means there's no colour in this, it's just solvent basically. So if this is a double-ended hoo-hoo I got, that you can come and borrow one, there's 6 up there. And when you put this on, I'm going to go back up onto the blue here. Watch what happens. So it enlivens the colour in an amazing way.
Judy, what is that tool called that you got?
It's a colourless marker. It's just a marker, any marker. These are real cheap Chinese ones.
Where did you get those?
I bought these online because I wanted a lot of them for class, but when you've got your finished piece of colouring, what you try and get to next. Now I'm going to my green down here.
Does it transfer the color at all? Like,
Yes, a little,
okay.
but see how it transforms it? You might not want to use the purists wouldn't use these at all, but I like toys, so I think that's pretty good.
Now, if you were
Try
to do something else, Judy, would you still have that color on your?
Yes, wipe its nose on a clean piece of paper and then it goes back to clean, yeah. Okay, so with a sharp pencil, any colour. I'm just going over what we've learned. Scumbling is this, which is this, sorry. Scumbling is this, which is little tiny circles, very soft, but you can nudge into places. So say I was drawing a leaf here, I can nudge into there very, very carefully, where if I was doing cross-hatching, I couldn't do that as well. So that's scumbling. Soft touch, pressure number 1, but just keep going until you're to the desired value, like darkness. So that's scumbling. This is hatching, and generally speaking, I always start like this. And if you're a calligrapher, you should be able to get equidistant lines, maybe. But this is a quick way of, when you're drawing, of getting some value onto a shape. And if I don't want to do shading, and I just want to increase the value with a pointed tool, I go in a different direction each time. And I keep changing it, so this is diagonal this time. And believe it or not, eventually you will get to colour in just the same way that you did with the scumbling or anything else. You'll notice manga artists, cartoonists, they use this stuff a lot. But you see how the colour is building? Cross-hatching. So now the last one is real strong pressure, I'd say about a 4 here. Turn the work. So now I'll use the 2 tools. I'll use the stump on half of it. So it is blending it. It is bringing out the fact that this is almost a phthalo blue. There's some greenish colour on it. Or was my thing dirty? Yeah, maybe it was. Oops. Oh, how do you sharpen one of those?
Yes.
On sandpaper. Any of those flip over sandpaper things, just rub it till it's clean. So that's the one way, and here's the cheats way. Burnishing. Now, you can burnish with an agate stump as well, but you know, we don't want to be buying tons of equipment, so. What is stippling, it says down here? Well, stippling is if you had a shape. If you had a shape, stippling is simply dots. So if you wanted to do enough dots, it would eventually look like you had shaded it. This is more for people that are very good at drawing. Now, here's an interesting one. You're going to like this. This is a party trick. There's mine. This is one of Barbara's tools.
Can't see what you're doing.
This is one of these, what do you call these, Barbara?
Embossing tool.
Embossing tool. And I've got them with all kinds of different sizes. And I'm taking a fairly small one. And in this box here, I want to draw a leaf. So I'll take a green pencil. By the way, in nature, there are no straight lines. So the vein down a leaf is never straight. It's always a bit curved. And the edge of a leaf is a little bit serrated, let's say. And here's the vein, and I'm going to have those little veins there. If I take this tool, pressure heavy here, lighter, 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 heavy to light, heavy to light, heavy to light, heavy to light, and so on. When I take my green pencil, drum roll, when I first colour this in, nothing happens. But when I start to put some pressure in, magic happens. So that's a nice thing to have. And then if the veins are too white, I can darken next to the vein. I can change the colours. I can go over the vein itself and just dumb the white down a little bit. But I think that's a really useful little tip.
Judy, a mechanical pencil without the lead out works the same.
Do you want to borrow one?
No, it works really good.
Oh, it does. A dead biro, what's a biro called?
Yeah.
A ballpoint
A
pen.
ballpoint pen. A dead one works as one of these.
You can use this for watercolour too, it's great for watercolour, for making lines, branches and things.
Yeah, okay. So just let me check my notes here because I don't want to miss anything. Gum pencil. Image. Okay, now we're getting to the interesting calligraphic stuff. So for most of us, when we are thinking about doing a calligraphic piece, we're trying to rack our brains to think, what I need to do the work and I need an image. And then if you come up short with images, there's a wonderful website called unsplash.com where you can go and get completely free images, and they're copyright free. But I was thinking more for people who aren't really artists who are asking for something about this. So you could reproduce, let's say, just a seascape. It would just be a sky and the sea, and you could print it on your printer and do your calligraphy on top if you're using good quality paper. So you can cut your text wove and run it through your printer. You could do that, but you could also choose an image. So let's just see if you can just draw a little bit. If you do download an image and it's on your screen, I suggest you go into the edit mode and just dial it up a bit so it's brighter. The first thing you look at when you're trying to put an image on paper is where is the light coming from? Light source is your big thing. So a green leaf, it's the same colour all over, is not when you go to draw it, because let's just see here. So we'll just stick with the leaf. So if this is where the light's coming from, then this side is going to be light and this side is going to be darker. And it's so important that everything in the picture has the same light source. If you do something here and something over here with the light come from this side, it'll be very confusing to look at. So always remember that, to really stare at your picture before you start. And you focus on where the light's coming from. Thumbnails. Everybody says do thumbnails, but how do you do it and what does it mean to some people? So let's say, for example, the theme this month was going to be the rose. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do I do the calligraphy first or do I do the image first? You do the thumbnail first, then you can sort of figure it out. And Kazi's done a beautiful piece with a nun in it back there, and she was doing exactly what you should do, which is she did her image down in this corner, and then she played around with where do the words go. So this is going to be a rose. So this is a long piece of paper. So what do I do? So here,
Can you move it up a bit?
sorry, pardon. So let's say this was our rose. So then I've sort of got this much white space. So I can do a limited amount of stuff. Let's say it was this way around and I wanted to do the lyrics of the Some Say Love, It Is a Reason, and it's got quite a lot of words. So I'll probably put my rose down here then, and then I'm going to maybe do, I think it's got 3 or 4 verses. So you'd have to figure it out. And then, oh, you might not like that. Oh, well then, oh, I'm doing this for a show. I think I'll get fancy and I'll do it in a round. But I'm not going to have any room for anything, so I might go outside of that shape. And I might just put the rose and keep it simple, stupid. And then I could maybe fill that with gold and get that spilling out of there, but I could colour all of this. And then 8.5 by 11, I'm guessing. You can always, write on a curve. I don't know, I can't remember the lyrics of that. And I could, maybe just do a rose bud down here and not have the whole thing. You don't need to get hung up on it, but with the colour pencil, you can just do a little bit of art, because a lot of people come and say, I'm scared of the art part. You guys are so good, I'll never do this. Well, just do 2, like Rhea and Paulette saying, keep it simple, just do a few words. If you really want to go the long thing, then you've got to do a bit more work. But I really urge you to get into the idea of doing thumbnails, because you'll find the things that you're going to trip over. If you do the calligraphy first, then it's going to get messy. Or you could do it very faint behind, like pressure number 1, and go over it. But so that's just something to think about. But a very light touch. If you're onto your good paper, then a very light touch with the erasable pencil. But the difference between watercolor and crayon is everything's erasable. So it's nice for people that make mistakes. Erasers, we've talked about. The other kind of eraser that's really nice is the kneadable eraser, as you can get it to a very fine point. You can't lift like you can lift with this baby. Oops. With this tool here, it's a marvel. I really like it, but if you can't find those, then you can always find these sandable erasers, and when you feel them, you can feel the grit in there. So what does that mean? It means you're removing the surface of the paper, so you might want to just go easy with that. But what I like is being able to go back in and put the shine on the apple. And I have to go back and forwards a fair bit, but I'm not giving it much pressure. But that's really nice when you're doing things. So I've got a few things to show you. So zoom back a little bit so you can space to see. So when I'm looking for images, I'm quite often looking in botanical things, because I like them. It's just my taste, not yours. So much crap here. So we talked about all of this. We talked about doing the veining. And then, so here's a few more layouts. you know, I have this really nice book. Did I leave it open there? Yeah, flowers. Those bottom two. Thank you, sorry, it's spread all over the place. I want to show you everything. This is, I bought this on one of the used book sites, but it's really good because it has every flower you can think of, every colour. And what's so nice about it is it's so crystal clear that I can draw from it. And then I can fiddle out, oh, this is a long flower, so then I would do something over there. Here's a rose, I can gild that kind of idea. And then this is actually a watercolour book, but it's got lovely images in it for using. And here I use this one just to practice this whole business of colouring this with a pencil, doing the dark hair. There's a bit of brown in there that you can hardly see. And putting that light back in there makes it feel curved. So it's just finding images. So I like this image that was on the front. And so I played with that a bit. And you might think, oh, I could never do that. But you can. You can. Here it is. Right. And if you get overwhelmed by thinking, oh, I couldn't draw that. But if you just isolate one bit and say, oh, I'm looking at this image here. And so the overall shape, so I just draw that on there, so then I draw the overall shape, then I just do that bit. And then I just do that curve, and before you know it, you've got it in there. You don't have to be a brilliant artist to be a copyist, and so on. Then you get clever about colours, and you start with one colour and you realise, oh, that's the wrong colour. And then you do a dark over it, because that's not as blue as that. And you just kind of keep doing it until you get to what we're going to do, which is try and do this. So shall we have a go? Are you ready to do something?
Judi, what does the gradient mean?
Graduated from strong to dark, which we did on the other page. Yeah. How much time have I got?
I'm going to say about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. 10 minutes. Okay. You have over here a bundle of images. Come and grab one if you want to do a leaf or you want to do whatever, and a piece of good paper. You're going to really notice the difference. Just a simple image, nothing too complicated. Oh, it's hot in here.
It is, yeah.
10 minutes, so grab it quickly.
Over it, there's one last ticket. Was there? No.
There you go.
So once you've got your image, take out 3 or 4 crayons that are in the colour. Take out 3 or 4 colours that are in your image. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to try and show it to you anyway. This is the difference of paper. This is copy paper. This is text wove, and this is a really heavy watercolor paper. So first, draw your shape please do this quickly, we've only got 10 minutes. Just do a quick shape, choose a simple image, a leaf is good.
Use pencil to outline the shape. Use pencil to outline your shape.
Yeah. If you use a dark pencil, it's hard to erase, same old thing. But if you take a fine liner, and I mean fine, I'll just show you on this leaf. If you've got a light touch, you can go around the edge and it will crisp up your image. Look up.
Did you ever use a pencil crayon on the other side when you started? Like the,
This is all pencil crayon.
oh, pencil crayon.
These are all pencil crayons. Right, I'm coming round. Those of you that are watercolor artists will know this, but see with this one here, I've got a light, a medium, and a couple of darks. Put the yellow on first. It's a great undercoat for anything living. Not too heavy, but it just gives everything a vibrancy. This one here, see how grainy the paper is? And this is where the cheats tool comes in. With the solvent, I'm going to just run it over here because I can see so much of the paper, but when I put solvent on it, the magic happens. And it starts to fill it in. If Caroline has taught us about using the brush pens, if you took the lightest grey, if you don't have one of these, if you took the lightest grey and used it as your solvent tool, that will work too.
If you had a refillable brush,
Pardon?
if you had a refillable
Yes,
brush pen,
yeah, just the lightest colour.
but well, if it, then wouldn't
But-
want to use water, but what is the solvent?
The solvent is,
Well, it's like white spirits.
it's
sort of.
odourless spirits,
Yeah.
basically.
It's like when you do oil painting, you use you can use Gamsol as well. If you're an oil painter and you have any kind of solvent like Gamsol, it's exactly the same thing. You can use that as well.
But I wanted for you to not have to go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff. In your stash, I am sure you will have, another thing you've got that will enliven are your favourite old-fashioned highlighters. These things, Sharpie highlighters. If you had something in the yellow or orange family, you'd be amazed how a layer of this underneath everything, or even over top of it. And that's too bright, but the orange is what I use all the time. Under, say, red rose petals or something. And again, it's soluble, so it's mixing everything underneath. And the good thing about this is you can go over the top with your pencil crayons and still keep changing things. And you have to experiment. This is why you do thumbnails, to play with it. Let me just show you. So here's a piece of work that's underway. She's just done a soft outline. She's got the yellow underneath, and she's adding the green on top. So this one here, the veins are way too deep, pressed too hard with the embossing tool. So take a green and go into the veins and see how you can knock it back. And you may choose not to use that trick at all, but it's fast and furious. What would happen if I put yellow on that? Let's see. Yeah, see, this is with the yellow highlighter. It's changing the colour of the green. It's making it a bit more vibrant, but it's not bad. And anywhere lumpy and not shaded nicely. If you just look at this on black paper, colour pencils work on black paper. I would suggest what you do is you take a piece of your good paper and you've got your leaf that you've done, and on the back do your colours that you've got, and then do a black piece. How does this work on black? So instead of doing a black outline, you might do a white outline on dark paper. Okay, tick, tick, tick. We're done.
Oh, thank you, Judi Hopewell, for such a great presentation. Sorry, we ended rather abruptly. Judi wandered around the room helping people. We had a coffee break and then went into the gallery. We didn't really wrap up the video well. Next month, we'll have Betty Locke doing some funky, fabulous, fun lettering. So we'll look forward to that. And we'll see you at next month's meeting, whether you're on Zoom, whether you watch the recording, or whether you come to the live meeting. See you there. Thanks.